Welcome to this video tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to optimally enter your rental prices on Ferienhaus Miete, from the base price and the rental price calendar to discounts, minimum stay, and arrival and departure days. First, log into your landlord account. For the listing you want to edit, select the Prices menu item. Here, under Prices, Basic Settings, you can enter all the important information about your rental prices. I will now enter my prices into the basic settings as an example. General information. First, I set the currency. In my example, it is Euro. We start with Euro by default because it is the most relevant currency for our website. Then, I specify whether the prices apply per property or per person. Most people select per property, which is what I will do in my example. Here, I define the maximum number of people for which this price applies by default. This is especially important if I want to add a surcharge later. In the base rental price section, I enter my standard price per night. The base price applies whenever I have not set a separate seasonal price for a specific period in the rental price calendar. In my example, I am entering 80 euros. Next, I directly specify the minimum stay, for example, 3 nights. In the surcharges section, I can define additional costs for extra guests. This means that surcharges for additional people can be entered here if they are added to my standard occupancy that I entered above. In my example, I am entering 10 euros per night per adult and 5 euros per night per child. Below that, I have the option to calculate a surcharge for short stays, such as a fixed amount for one night. Now I am entering the additional costs so that our price calculator can calculate the correct prices at the end. I click on Add Additional Costs. Here you can see a list of different types of costs. In my example, I am selecting Final Cleaning. For final cleaning, you can choose between included, one-time, or optional. I choose a one-time fee and change the amount to 80 euros. Under additional information about the rental price, you can enter anything that you cannot include under additional costs or price entries. For example, tourist tax. If you do not want to enter any discounts in your basic settings, you can go directly to the rental price calendar if you have different seasonal prices. However, I would like to explain how to enter discounts in the basic settings first. If you want to offer a discount for stays of 7 nights or more, click Add Discounted Weekly Price. Here you can either use the slider, for example moving it to 15%, or simply enter a percentage manually. You will then see 448 euros at the top. This is the average price calculated for a 7-night stay based on the base price per night that you entered above. The process is very similar if you want to offer a discount for stays of 4 weeks or more. I would also like to add an early booking discount. I open this section again, adjust the rule, and specify the discount's end date in the drop-down menu at the bottom. In my case, it is 2 months before arrival. I do not want to add a last-minute discount, as it is structured similarly to an early booking discount. Therefore, I skip directly to the promotional offer section because I want to add a limited time offer. First, select the period during which this offer should be valid. In my case, it is the relatively slow month of November. I want to add an autumn offer, so I select 10% using the slider and add it. At this point, I will show you a few more minor settings before we move on to the rental price calendar later. If you do not want guests to inquire and arrive on the same day, you can enter a notice period greater than 0. You can also add a preparation period if you do not want to receive inquiries for a certain number of days between stays. Under Availability window, you can specify how many months in advance guests can book. In my example, I will not limit this. Here, you can specify which days arrival and departure are possible at your property. All days are always pre-selected. If you only have certain days available, you need to deselect the corresponding days so that only check marks remain for the possible days. I am adding the check marks again because I want guests to be able to inquire for all these days. Finally, I save everything. Now all the information is saved. If you go to Discounts, you will see that some check marks indicate that discounts have been applied. The last-minute discount option has no check mark, so there is no discount for that one. I would now like to remove a discount. I set it to 0 and select Please select from the drop-down menu. Then I save, and the discount is removed. If you would like to enter different prices or settings, you can do so in our rental price calendar. Use the rental price calendar to enter your seasonal prices. There are various links for this under the basic settings. I now click on Seasonal Prices, which takes me to the rental price calendar. Please note that all your information from the basic settings has been automatically transferred here. We are now in the rental price calendar. The basic settings were taken over automatically and are shown in gray. Here there are already prices or settings that differ. That is why these are green and highlighted in different colors. If I scroll further down, I see the basic settings again, because I have not entered any seasonal prices. In this drop-down menu, you can display the price per night or the price per week, which is automatically calculated from the price per night. You can also display the minimum stay here. That way, you can see at a glance whether you have stored different minimum stays for different time periods. Also, the limited time promotion offers can be found here at a glance. Here, you can see, for example, November, which we previously entered in the basic settings. Now I want to overwrite my base price for a specific period, or create a new seasonal price. And to do that, I first click on the start date, release the mouse, and move to the end date of the season and click there. Now the season details have opened on the right, with the corresponding season period. And if I click away, then it disappears again. And I could, for example, select a new season the same way. Here you can now see the different input options for the season details that I selected earlier in the rental price calendar. You can change the rental price per night here. Here you can also manage your discounts in detail, for example, weekly discounts, monthly discounts, or last-minute discounts. You can also define your arrival and departure days and specify exactly on which weekdays arrivals and departures are allowed. And finally, you can set your booking rules. Create multiple seasonal periods at the same time. If you have the same prices and conditions for several time periods, then you can add them via Add Period. For example, I now select a period in October, and then you can see that it was added at the top. And I add a third period. That one has now also been added at the top. For these 3 periods, I now adjust the rental price per night. You can also remove one of the periods here. Then the change is applied only to the 2 periods that remain at the top. But you can also add a new period again during the process. Here I select another period in October. I select it. And now you can see a check mark next to discounted weekly price. Discounts in the rental price calendar. These are the entries I previously made in the basic settings. I would now keep them for my seasonal period because the 20% will be applied to the price per night that I entered here. And the same applies to the discounted monthly price. But I could also remove that for this season. Now, I only want to add a discount for the times selected above, specifically a last-minute discount. I open it and specify how many days before arrival the last-minute discount applies. I move the slider here again. I check whether everything is correct. Yes. Create a promotion offer, formerly special offer. Now I want to add a promotion offer within the period selected above, so a limited time offer. I can do that here. I check again which period it should be within, or for this one, I look down here to see which date I select. I choose an autumn offer again and select the period accordingly and enter a discount. Now I check again below my arrival and departure days, and under booking rules I change my minimum stay to 5 nights for these seasonal periods, and I also want a preparation time, meaning I want 1 day between 2 bookings where no booking can take place. And I also do not want it to be possible to inquire and arrive on the same day. Now, after saving, I received an error message and have to adjust my discount here because it must be between 5 and 95%. I enter that and save everything at the end. Here in the rental price calendar, you can now check your entries again and see that some periods have turned green with a colored bar. That means a seasonal period was created here, and it is stored here with 90 euros and matches the periods that we saved previously. Let's say you now want to change something again in this period, then you can click on the colored bar, and exactly this period opens at the top, and you can conveniently, for example, change the rental price per night here. I will now add another season and explain how you can enter different prices for different prices by weekdays. Now I want to enter another new seasonal price. I click again here on the start date and on the end date. On the right, the corresponding season details open again, and I enter 100 euros per night. But in this seasonal period, I want to enter a different price for the weekend, and for that I click on weekend price and now enter 120 only for Friday and Saturday. If you now click on price per weekday, then you can see that a different price is stored for Friday and Saturday, and I could even enter another different price for Saturday, and I enter 130 euros here. After saving, you can see that these days now have different prices. Now at the end, I will show you how you can check your entries. For this, go to the price simulator at the top. Here you can now enter an example period. Just select the start and end date again. You can also specify the number of guests and whether children are coming. Then click Simulate Prices, and down here you see the booking price that is shown at the very end. That is the price the guest sees. And at the top, you also have a breakdown again. I close that and want to check another period. I select it, specify only pets, close it, and click Simulate Prices, and that way I know how the price is calculated. If I find errors here, I close the price simulator and can make my corrections in the rental price calendar or in the basic settings. Click here on the menu to get back to the basic settings because a price simulator is also available there. And do not forget, under rental conditions, to enter your cancellation policy and payment terms. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.